The next chapter is by Dr. Rajni Chan, and the title of her chapter is "It Rains a Lot Here: Online Assessments versus Mother Nature." Dr. Chan.
I think so, yeah. Hello, everyone. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation because you don't know how Mother Nature can play. The title of my chapter was called "It Rains a Lot Here," and there was a reason for calling it that, and I will take you through that in a while. But before that, I would like to thank Flora, who's joined us today, for actually initiating this idea when we started the online test as one of the assessments for the course that I coordinate. The course that I coordinate is UU 114, English for Academic Purposes. And as you know, it is a compulsory course in all programs, meaning that on average we have something like 2,800 to 5,000 one semester we had that. And it is offered both semesters by all modes as well as flexi school. So we actually began including online after some hesitation for the reason being that it is an academic skill course where we actually introduce the macro skills required for university studies. And being a traditional teacher, in a sense, I actually thought that it's a course where we actually need more hands-on approach when we actually introduce the skills to students, meaning face-to-face as much as possible. However, over time, we realized that it had become challenging for us in many ways, being that we had issues with the staff workload, marking, SAS, and exam supervision challenges and all that. So we had initiated and started online mid-semester test, and we had introduced critical thinking, which had been part of the test itself, as an online component when Flora became the Moodle team support staff for me. And then when we had this project idea, Flora said, why don't we actually have a look at how the students are performing, and let's see whether they are actually engaging well with the online component that we have introduced. So we started looking at how the students were engaging, how many students were actually doing the online test, and what were the issues that we had to deal with. So we started looking at the data, thanks to Vasiti for actually including the data for us. And we found that where face-to-face students' involvement with online tests were concerned, it was easy. We could see them performing well, or they were also participating in the tests as expected. And every semester, I had to basically engage with this campus staff to find out which campuses would be actually willing to include online mode rather than a print-based test. And we had a list of the various campuses where we had the facilities as we had thought. And we took it for granted that the campuses as well as the students would engage with the online rather than a printed test. That wasn't so. We found campuses with good infrastructure as stated, a very high student number, saying no, we'd still opt for the printed test. So we had a look at the data, we had a look at the campuses, and when this project was approved, we had a look at the campuses where we had a very high student number, and then thought to find out why were students still opting for a printed rather than an online test. And it's not something that we had not given them prior practice of. The Moodle page had already samples of online tests, links to various websites where we had online activities. So they had an idea what online critical review thinking would be like. We were giving them sample material, we were giving them all the activities and things that would actually help them. And yet, they were refusing to participate in an online method rather than a printed test. So thanks to the funding given, I decided to go to 2 of such campuses where the students were still doing printed tests rather than the use of the test via Moodle. At one of the campuses, when I visited, I went and saw the computer lab. There is a list of 2 such computer labs with something like 25 computers in each lab. We had a face-to-face group of about 80 or 90 students there. And we said that was enough for a 2-day or a 24-hour period during which the students could attempt the test. Out of those 50, only 15 computers were working. How can we expect students to attempt an online test when the computers are not functioning? So that was one campus. The second campus I went to, the sub-campus is where the students had opted for online mode of learning. So I went to that campus, and what my article basically is like a personal blog. I had gone to Savai via the ferry, landed there, went to the hotel. On the way to the sub-campus where I was supposed to interview the students on why they were not enrolled or why were they not performing well in the online. The hotel receptionist just said to me, "It rains a lot here." I didn't take that seriously, just borrowed the umbrella from her and went. When we reached the off-campus, the students trickled in. And the reason given was, whenever it rains, the network is down. So that was something that we had not even thought of would be happening. So what this report, or what I would say, this research has given me an idea on that in the region where we are, I always say about the time zones, the millions and millions of kilometers we cover, but we still have the diversity. We still have the student population where we have to think about what they actually have, how much are we taking for granted. And when I'm looking at something like academic skills, of course we have students from the linguistic, the proficiency diversity as well. And when we have something like critical thinking to basically be introduced in our Pacific culture, it again is a challenge. So we have the infrastructure, we have the geographical, we have the proficiency level, we have all of these that we still have to think about. And I'm all for infrastructures or things where we can introduce or provide as much as possible through online education methods. But there are times we have to think about the Mother Nature, and there would be where we still need to have plan B, C, and D. And that is why we have to respect the Mother Nature and think about those whenever we want to do anything where distance, open, or face-to-face learning is concerned. And that's what I have written and mentioned, that we need to have a lot of things in place. The challenges, of course, is firstly the infrastructure itself. However, we have other things that we need to also think about, things like the online security system, when we have to include the tests and things of that sort. Of course, we also have to think about what do we want to actually provide for the students. Thank you.